First off, let's we can always just kind of applaud everyone in like this. What's going on, everyone? Evan here. Ben, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are you, Evan?
Good. Well, I'm happy we decided to kind of do this.
I think it's going to be great.
I think the lawn care community is definitely lacking with good podcasts. I've told you before, there's a lot of fake people out there with lawn care. They pull so much away from the business. They start doing podcasts and becoming unauthentic talking heads is what I like to call them. And so I just figured that, you and I would just kind of start one. You have a great background to be able to do this, highly qualified for lawns. And so, I figured we could start the Turf Nerds podcast. And so I'm Evan, and that's Ben.
Absolutely. And if there's anything I know about you, you are very genuine, authentic. So the inauthentic people, they won't know what hit them when they watch this listen.
I'm glad because I just don't want to turn into, we're doing this to see where it goes, but we never want to just turn into like a coupon code or a promo code there on a website. So we're here with the Turf Nerds just to help people to grow a better lawn care business, to just give life tips with a little bit of faith in there though too. So that's what we really kind of want to bring this podcast just to be a light to people in a dark world full of tall grass. So
yeah, not just for lawn care business, but I think this will help any small business owner and people that are thinking about starting their own business, maybe giving them the little kick they need to get going on it.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking though too, because I've told anyone though too. My uncle, he'll be on hopefully for a later episode. He built a lawn care business from the ground up. He was like almost 60, and this was 2 years ago. So anyone can build their own business and to be successful. It's just, you got to put a lot of hard time and effort into it. So
yeah, and we'll get into that because I think this first episode we want to cover a lot about your background and how you got going with the whole lawn care business. So with that, let's kick it off. Let's talk a little bit about who you are, your background, kind of growing up, and then what got you into this whole business.
Well, funny you asked that. Well, so I've always kind of liked cutting the grass ever since I was kind of like a little kid. My dad, he had a ride-on 48-inch tractor that he took me on, and then I'd say fast forward to just my senior year in high school, I was in a Comtech class with my buddy Eli, and then we kind of had this joke of starting our own lawn care business. And so the thing was, I had the equipment, and then he had the lawns, and so next thing you know, we decided to mock up some flyers on the computer, and we turned it into E&E Lawn Care. And I would have to look for it. I have a picture up on my Facebook of the flyer, like back in the day. It was like affordable, cheap lawn care, something like that. We turned us into the cheap lawn care guys with
So
I think we only had one push mower when we started out.
So you're like 17 years old.
Yeah.
How many lawns are you talking about? You starting with here? So
we started in downtown Farmington, Michigan. Like these were smaller houses. Eli had 4 or 5 lawns, and then I had about 1 or 2. I had a push mower, basically all the equipment. He kind of had a crappy mower that we didn't use. But
so you're talking just a regular snapper, or what kind of equipment?
It was actually a Toro push mower that we gave to our friend Darren, that you also know. Yeah, Darren.
Okay.
No one knows about Darren, but we'll get into Darren later on too. But it was actually my dad. He had a tractor, and then we also had a little push mower, Toro push mower that we would use to mow all of Eli's lawns in kind of downtown Farmington, and then we would use the tractor for bigger lawns over by my house. But I predominantly had all the equipment. I even had an edger and the truck, and what we would do is we would mow all Eli's lawns in downtown Farmington. Man, back in the day, so these are 1,100 square feet houses. I think we were only charging like $15 to $20 to cut this. And this would take a while too. So
yeah, what you're doing the lawns, but then you're edging, you're weed whacking, stuff like that too, right?
Some of the stuff, yeah, because we were both pretty non-confrontational with people when starting this off. Like we were too afraid to talk to people to try to do it. We passed out flyers, and we were kind of timid. But man, some of these edging jobs. So when the grass is 4 or 5 inches over, and people on YouTube and Spotify or wherever else they're listening, like they know it too. Like when you're trying to work up an edge to get a nice edge back for a lawn, and it's like sod growing way over. This takes some time, and we are basically giving people steals, to get into the door to the lawn care biz. I've told people you got to lowball a lot, and I think lowballing was a lot more acceptable back in 2010 than it is now. there's a kind of a label in the lawn care community that goes around like the cheap $20 lawn guy. Well, I can tell you this: you'll always find a guy who can do it cheaper than you, and there's people who can do it better than me. Like even in present day now, that's just life, and like that's how it is. So,
okay, so back with Eli, you guys are doing 6 or 7 lawns.
Yeah.
How long is it taking you? You know.
Well, it's kind of funny because I think it would with 6 to 7 lawns. Like we'd be out there for 4 or 5 hours a day, and Eli and I, great friend, great brother, in the faith too. But we kind of disagreed about the times I when to start. He wanted to start mowing at like 4:30, 5:30 at night when it's afternoon. It's kind of getting dark. I wanted to always get out there early, get it done to kind of build the business.
Right.
So
people got to see you, right?
Yeah. So there's always that kind of disagreement. But it's funny that you say that. Got to see me. We had a friend in our ComTech class, and he would print out vinyl flyers or stickers. Sorry. And so we actually vinyled my truck. I'll have to put up a picture if I can find it though too. So it was E&E Lawn Care, my little 1998 Ford Ranger, and my dad wasn't too happy.
Was that the green one?
Yeah.
Okay.
The green one, and my dad wasn't happy with that because we sold.
Hey, what's that on the truck?
He's like, hey, what's that on the truck? So anyways, we put that on the truck for, man, I think I only had that on there for a year because I ran the first year with Eli, and the business was a major success. Like everyone in high school knew us. Well, I'd say major. It was only like 6 to 7 lawns, but people knew that we started a lawn care business, and so Eli and I kind of had a tad of a falling out, and we kind of, my dad and I unofficially fired him. My dad invested into the business, and we changed it to E&D Lawn Care. Evan and Dad, Evan and Drew, Evan and Dummy sometimes. Some of the
Drew
people,
being your brother.
Yeah. Some of the people that had worked for me there in the past, not my buddy Zach. I did have him for about 10 years. He really helped me grow the business, but the joke was that Evan and the Dumb Squad. So, but it's hard to kind of find good people to come help you work. But Zach, he did a great job, but we would always kind of label him as the dumber one when he was actually the smarter one the entire time. So,
but he was a workhorse too, though, right?
He was a workhorse. He would always just spin that he's lazy. But I'm like, Zach, you're a big dude, but you're working way better than half these other lawn guys. It's really hard to find some good guys to work for you. So it's just, I mean, my dad took it over the very next year, and
so the next year, are you out of high school then?
So fresh out of high school, and we were actually down in a mission trip down in Kentucky, working at a youth camp.
Okay.
And little did I know, my dad sends me a picture of this 36-inch Cub Cadet walk behind mower. It cost $800 there back in the time, and
what's something like that go for nowadays?
So it's kind of funny. I mean, thanks to some Bidenomics, there's no other way to say it. But the cost rises up and down over times under both presidents. But this one's probably more than it should. But a 36-inch Cub Cadet walk behind mower today, that would probably cost. I mean, you're looking at 30. If I really had to put a number, some of these are costing like $5 to $6 grand now,
wow.
And some even close to $7 to $8 grand. It's actually pretty crazy how.
So he sees this one somewhere for $800.
Yeah. So he went up to Weingart's and he got one from a sales rep named Carl. And I came home from the missions trip, and my father really pushed me to grow this business. And like I said, it was kind of a joke after high school, but it's funny that you say that though too. He pushed me from investing and also just passing out flyers. Like I was back in 2011, I was passing out flyers like on my birthday. So I mean. And we were slowly just starting to build.
And you're just concentrating in one area, or what are you doing?
Well, we kind of did that for the first couple of years when we had the walk behind and the push mower, and I had the Ranger, and then we bought a small trailer though too. We had I think we had a 5x8 trailer before we upgraded to a 6x10, and now I have a 7x16 enclosed. But so we what you're supposed to do, guys, was when you kind of start out though too, like you want to pick off lawns wherever you can find them though too. So I had a pretty dense route, but then also kind of spread about though too. And we drive probably far away, like Canton, Michigan, on like like Lily Road down there. So 20-25 minutes, but the name of the game though is like over time route density. Like you want to drop that gate once and mow 14 lawn stops, and I have some of those. I have some neighborhoods where I have 40 lawns, and that has come through A, flyers, and B, just being there for such a long time. It's my 13th year doing it. Being there for such a long time. People pass away. People move on. They sell their houses. People notice you. In this business, people will notice you more than like you think. So,
yeah. Okay, so you get the Cub Cadet.
Yeah.
You pass out flyers. You start building up the clientele.
Yes.
What kind of pricing are you doing? How selective are you on the clients you take? Are you taking everything because you're a little naive still, or what?
Usually when you're starting out in the biz, you kind of want to take everything under the sun. You want to be wise like Solomon was in all his wisdom with stuff. But when you're starting out taking everything under the sun, and my dad, he did a great job. He would pick the brains of other commercial guys starting out, because back in the day, I'd say I really didn't start taking pride in the business until almost halfway in. Like my dad, he had found the golden $23 cut for a neighborhood just north of my parents. These houses were 3,000 square feet, and so that's kind of like what the cut was for then. And so we got into this neighborhood. It's called Green Valley Estates, and we had like 5 lawns in there at the time. And I thought that was the biggest thing. I think my clientele list was up to about 25 to 30 back in 2011, going into 12, and I thought mowing 7 lawns a day for like 3 days a week was kind of like a chore. But my dad was slowly ingraining it. Hey, you're growing up. You're after high school. You've graduated. You need to figure out what you want to do. And at that time, I also had a different side business. I did go to a film school in 2013 and graduated, and I filmed weddings on the side, but that never really took off to what lawn care actually did.
Well, let's talk about that. So you get out of high school, you had started the business, you kind of have the idea that you're going to go into film school or something like that.
Big thing. Yep.
And in the background, though, you still have the lawn business.
Yes.
So how long did you go to the film school? What kind of stuff did you do in that regard? And then when did you think that, hey, this lawn business actually has legs? This is something that I can turn into a true full-time business and actually, my means of support.
You know me, yep.
Yeah.
So, I've always been a big fan of like YouTube and making videos, and you and I do impressions. We love to imitate people. It's the most sincerest form of flattery. But ever since I have some YouTube videos and other accounts that are 16 years old. Like, this is some old stuff.
Yeah, you actually have some IMDb credits for some videos.
I do. So it's funny you say that. I went to a film school out in Troy, Michigan called the Motion Picture Institute, and this was actually a pretty good film school. It was not just a school that just teaches you to like press buttons, but they would teach you how to press buttons. So like how to actually use the video equipment. It was the insides and outsides of the whole film and sound industry for movie production, and it was a great school. It was a very technical school. It just wasn't just press this button to do this. Like, they actually showed you how to operate and use cameras and everything from cinematography to lighting to screenwriting to screenplay, stuff like that. It really school did a great job, and it was only like a little 15-month program, and so I went through that. I was really trying to build the side film and photography wedding business, but that really didn't get anywhere. I did end up on a feature film right after film school. It was out in Lansing, Michigan. That's where I got my lowly IMDb credit. And sitting there thinking, I'm like, man, I don't really even back then. I'm like, I don't really know if I want to pursue this film thing. It's almost harder than lawn care, but I had to take that back because I was kind of lazy with it though too, and still kind of afraid to kind of build the film biz. And there was I just had more of a knack with lawn care and being more relational with people. And you can be super relational with people with filming weddings, but I really tried. Like, after the feature film out there, I did put some, I'd say, pretty good effort networking to really try to build up a good, successful film business, because I kind of wanted it to take over lawn care, but it really never came to fruition though too. And so
yeah, it kind of worked out though, where the lawn care business took over.
Yes.
And then some of the stuff that you're doing or that you learned on the film side has helped fill the wintertime lulls a little bit. You film some weddings, you do some other stuff in your downtime when you're not cutting lawns.
praise God that I didn't go to the film business. I do remove snow in the winter, but that's with my buddies, and more so with their business.
And that's all dependent crazy. On what kind of winter we have here too.
And see, so we live in Michigan, guys, and so like that's the thing. If we lived in Texas or Tennessee or California or something like that, I could have a pretty successful around the clock year wedding business. I mean, people don't like wedding film business. People don't really get married too much in the winter. I have filmed like December weddings here in Michigan, but they're kind of few and far in between. So, but through other networking, through friends though too, I do stay busy in the winter helping a buddy of mine run a photo booth business in the winter, and they sent me out probably on like 10 jobs. It's really good pay, but when snow calls, I'm there with my buddies. I do know how to plow, but I really don't choose to get into the whole plowing aspect. This put me. I actually have a nice Toro PowerMax 2-stage snowblower that we've used on sidewalks when the snow gets heavy. And when you have like a salt event, I mean, salting is where all these guys make their money. I kind of want to branch into the salt game, but I mean that could just it totally ruins your truck. So.
Yeah, I think a future podcast might be centered around what you do in the off season to kind of fill that lull period, because I think you've done some interesting stuff. I think, like you said, you got a lot of ideas, things that we can throw out there and talk about.
Oh yeah,
that I think would probably fill a entire podcast all in itself.
We go hours on that, big time.
Yeah, but let's get back to you're growing the business.
Yeah.
When did it click into your head that, hey, this is going to be my full-time job. This is going to be my business, and it's going to be how I make my living?
It's probably until I'd say probably the past 4 or 5 years I really figured it out. Watching other lawn care YouTubers and listening to some other podcasts, and most of what they said was good, but they had all kind of turned into talking heads, and I think God has really blessed my business though too. I had so many lawns all in one spot, and through the past 4 or 5 years, I mean, I haven't really been able to find permanent full-time help, even though Zach helped me for over last 10 years, which I'm so appreciative of that though too. I finally figured out, it's like, man, I'm making more than guys are when people are like going to school and getting bachelor's degrees. Like, not trying to boast though too, but if you set your business up in such a way, I mean, you can make a salary in 8 months, and then winter, if you help me there with my taxes too, Ben, you can set yourself up in the winter where you don't have to do any work, just go on like little mini, sabbatical, like vacation. And the winter is a great time for these lawn care guys to really recharge their batteries too. But it clicked about 4 or 5 years ago, because I was getting praise from people. They really liked my work, and that's why I started to care. I'm super OCD about sharpening my blades though too. And so throughout the years and over time, I finally just realized that, hey, I can make a substantial and a good living actually doing this. And I've seen other guys do it. I've talked to like older guys who have been in the business 30 years, and they still love to do it though too. It's all about route density, big time.
Yeah.
And I also offer other services though too, like mulch installation. I do some tree work, hedge trimming though too. I've done pea gravel moving and some small cleanup jobs like that. But the main pull is mowing and cleanups.
So
spring fall cleanups.
The progression in the clients over the years, you started out, like you said, 6 or 7 lawns with Eli. Then you're up to what in that for the first year on your own, 30 or 40 lawns.
First year on my own, 30 or 40, and then we had the Cup Kit at 36 for a while, and then this is probably the year after that. I think it was 2013. We bought our 52-inch Laser Z X-Mark mower, and this thing was fun. Great mower, and that's when we really took off, and I really built the business. We were probably up to 60 to 70 clients a week back then. Still kind of driving out into the boonies with some of these lawns, but then growing in other pocketed areas that we really needed to grow. Had that mower for a couple of years, sold that for $60 back in 2017. Used that for a long time too. I put 3,000 hours on this Laser Z 60E series for 2 years, and sold that too. And so basically, how it works when I'm saying selling that, my dealer who deals my mowers, like they got a great deal where it's just 0 down and you lease it for like $240 a month. So it's like 0 down, no interest. So you can always get the latest and greatest mowers. And I didn't really know about that until 4 or 5 years ago. So slowly, I mean, over time, we started there with a push mower. Then we went to a walk behind. It's because my dad invested, and then, upgrade to a 52 rider, and then a 60, and then fast forward to present day. Sorry, and we have a Cub Cadet 60-inch stand-up mower. It's a Pro X 600 series, great mower, awesome mower.
So you've been upgrading as you go.
Oh yeah.
When the business can support it, that's when you're getting the better equipment.
Yeah, that's the thing. In this business, in the lawn care biz, you got to spend money to make money, big time on it. And I've been nickeled and dimed in the past. I've had employees and myself break some stuff. We've broken, I think, only in 13 years. That's because when I had people working for me, we broke 2 storm door windows, and that was it. But really, you have to spend money to make money in the business, and then value yourself though too, and know your worth and charge more. For a while, I'd say for almost like over half of the time, I wasn't charging enough though either. And so
you're probably year to year keeping the price the same for repeat clients. And
I had a client, he got really mad at me last year. We had him for 10 years. He was the first kind of client that I had. We'll just say that his name was Jason. And so anyways, Jason basically, I finally raised his price really a substantial amount last year. And he's like, bro, I thought, I was the same price for like forever. And I'm like, Jason, that's not how this works. Because I was also cutting his son's lawn. His son lived in a $2 million house, and he texted me. He's like, hey, can you drop the price on Miles' house? And I'm like, no, Jason, I can't do that. I'm trying to make money. And then last year was really the big year that I had to just totally downsize my business. Like we were cutting 200 lawns a week in the beginning of April and May. Then I dropped it down to 150 when I kind of had part-time help last year. And then now this year, we're just down to it's me.
Yeah, you're pretty much
God's help. I'm just down to about 125 lawns a week, but I have neighborhoods where I mow 42. So I drop the gate once, mow them all. So, But prices last 4 or 5 years, I've slowly upped people though too. Like I know guys who charge more than me. I'm like, you're not going to make any money there in this neighborhood. I mean, like my standard rate's $32. I know my worth. I know some guys who would charge 42 or 40. I'm like, that's a little high for this though too. And then so I'm slowly creeping it, and with gas, it's got to know your worth and your value. And hey, I'm doing totally fine doing it like this though too. I mean, we have a baby on the way. I'm married to a beautiful wife though too. We have a wonderful house. I mean, guys didn't really know, like friends and close family, they didn't really know how much money I was making actually cutting grass and doing this. So
yeah, I think that's some people are kind of anchored to, hey, you started this in high school, so it's kind of like a lemonade stand or something like that, and don't realize how viable this business is, how many clients you have, and you're in this time of year, you're busy 7 days a week, especially right now since you're the only person doing it. So you got as much business as you can handle.
Yeah.
And it's a good moneymaker.
It's a very good moneymaker, and we have a friend named Kevin who used to come to our church years ago, and he would always try to recruit people for the setup team because he would always say, many hands make light work. And so I'm sitting, well, looking back at it now that I've gone to like 100% solo this year, I've realized, man, Zach and I could knock out 50 lawns a day. I'd be lucky to get 22 to 27. The other day, I did knock out 27, but that's because we're also in a dry season right now. And then we had a pretty wet spring, and then when June hit here in Michigan, it just became super dry, and I finally caught up. I'm trying to get like other side jobs done too. Like lawns are great. If you do it right, I would argue you can make just as money, trimming hedges and doing some mulch jobs as you would cutting grass. Yeah, I obviously know there's more money to be made in mulch predominantly and hedge trimming though too. But now's the time for me to pick up on some side jobs to just get some extra cash. And we just offered aeration services too this year. My buddy sold me a aerator for a great deal. I couldn't pass it up. And you can $100 a lawn pop. It takes 10 minutes because aeration is really important and key to having a healthy grass that can actually breathe. So it's kind of like wearing a double mask, you can't really breathe, and your lawn's got to breathe too. So,
we'll touch on some of this stuff in future episodes, like some of these side jobs that you do, and like things you do when you're rained out, because I think that is important to talk about, like, because that's not just a completely lost day. There's other things that you can do that are going to help you later on.
Oh, sure.
When the weather is back to how we think it should be in the summertime.
Yeah, I can give a whole nother podcast about how to be productive and more purposeful and make the best use of the time, as the Apostle Paul says, in rain out days though too. And then you should always hop on maintenance as much as you can. I see so many guys out there who don't maintain their machines. I'm like, man, this mower is older than it. Like even newer mowers, I'm like, they don't blow it off. It's full of dirt. I'm like, man, it's just use the off days to maintain your equipment.
Yeah, and also probably do some of the administrative stuff as well, right?
That too. We have a online software. It's called Yardbook. It's free for most aspects. I would highly recommend you guys to check it out. You can put all the customers' info in there and then send them a invoice via email. It's great. My lovely wife actually does most of the invoicing because I'm pretty slow at sending out invoices. So
yeah. Do you have any issues with collecting from clients? I mean, what has happened in the past with that? Do you have any that you're like, hey man, you owe me for...
in 13 years doing this, I mean, I've only been stiffed, I'd say, by less than a half dozen people. My client, Jason, that I had last year, who I've had for 10 years, he's just kind of a cheapo. Long story short, he owed me about $250, and he wouldn't pay me. I know I could have taken him to small claims court and got the right verdict and won, but these guys don't have to show up, so it really doesn't mean anything. You could also put a lien on people's houses and things like that. I've heard that other lawn care guys have done that though too. It's just, but we have a good lawyer friend. His name is Bob Igerson. He's a giant. He said don't do it because it's too much money to put a lien on someone's house. So I'm like, no, forget that. So
yeah, you end up spending good money to go after bad money, really.
And that's the risk that you take in this business. I've rarely done contracts. I've done a couple of them for kind of people who are to the book. I've worked off a handshake and I've made six figures doing this. I think I'm doing it right because it's sure I'm not. It's like, okay, I cut the grass, but I'm more than just cutting grass. I want to get into your life though too, in a subtle way, not intrusive. Just you want to get to know your clientele.
Yeah, and you're very good at that, and I think you do it in a way that is not intrusive, but very friendly. People I think naturally want to talk with you.
Sometimes, like, you're sitting there, they give you a check, and then you have to smile for 10 minutes. It's like, hey, Don, I gotta go, man. Time is money. Time is money, especially when cutting grass. And so as the days slowly get shorter, because we're now approaching almost mid-July, you gotta hustle and bustle because it gets dark by 5:30 by the September time. So when that rolls around.
Yeah. Well, I think we covered quite a bit of ground here.
We did. It's almost 30 minutes, Ben.
Yeah, for the first episode, and I think we definitely know we got a lot that we can talk about in the future. I think we want to have a few guests on, other lawn care professionals and also some small business people, because
that'd be great. Yeah,
there's a lot of good ideas that we can share with people that are either owning their own small business right now or people that are thinking, I want to get out of the corporate rat race or whatever they're in and tackle starting a small business for themselves, because you've proven that with some hard work and keeping at it, you can be successful and make a very good living doing something like this.
Yeah, it's just half of it is just putting in the effort. I mean, you hear all these cliche sayings though too, but if you really put in the effort and you honor God with your business, you will be blessed by it though too. And I finally realized that now though too, and the other half is just a lot of prayer. Lord, just bless me, because I've lost. So ironically, in 13 years doing it, I've only been fired probably hard, like off of 3 jobs. And when in doubt, the client's always right, and I'll defend myself. I did nothing that would have warranted being fired though too, but the Lord always replaces clients for me though too. So
right,
big time.
Yep, and I think you have the right attitude about it. You have a servant's heart, and
it's hard though. It's hard in this world.
Yeah, go about it the right way and satisfy your customers.
Yeah. Well, guys, we thank you for tuning in. Man, I kind of have like Monesia right now because I've
Monesia.
It's like amnesia, but Monesia. I've forgot to mow sections of lawns before, like the past couple of weeks. I'm like, man, I'm doing too much mowing, but luckily I've caught it because I've been riding back to the trailer.
Last question.
Sure, yeah.
Do you ever have dreams about mowing?
I have. I get OCD, and if you have like a really rough day, I've actually had like repeat dreams of cutting someone's lawn. So it's like I love to do it, but you got to separate it for some rest and relaxation time though too. I'd say go hard. In Michigan we go hard 8-9 months out of the year, but you need some time off though too, and budget that. So
absolutely, because when you have the 8-month crunch, you got to make sure you have some time to recharge. You're not going to be able to take any long vacations or anything, but you got to make plans for some 2 days or something here and there where you're getting away from the mower and you're actually recharging. Otherwise, I think it'll drive you crazy.
Yeah, it's you always kind of have the spring rush, and it kind of like burns you out. So you kind of sound like this. You're like, "Hey, I don't want to mow. I don't want to mow anymore." Yeah, it's basically
I can't mow anymore.
Yeah, I've had people come up and I just say, "Hey guy," or "Hey gal, I can't mow anymore." It's really just Monesia though too. I kind of drive myself crazy. So
that's a new one by me. I never heard of Monesia before, but
I've said that to a couple of clients and they actually laughed at it when I did some dumb things, but then they just laughed at it. And it's so it. See,
was it just kind of the one of those kind of laughs, or was it a real heartfelt laugh?
Some people do heartfelts or they do sarcastic laughs, but when I've only been called out for missing a section once, but that was actually last year. But this is the whole point of this podcast is I'm not just telling you about all the good things though too. Like this is a real podcast because I'll tell you about where I mess up though too. I see, I'm not going to mention names, but I see this other lawn care YouTubers and podcast guys. It's just fake. They just turn into talking heads, and we don't want to be talking heads because
no, we want to admit
Turf Nerds has a lot to bring.
Admit that we're not perfect. You're going to make some mistakes in the lawns, but by and large, the ones I've seen you do, they look awesome.
Yeah, it's great, and that's what we try to do. And you just cut that grass to make cash. So
all right, we'll cut it off here. We'll talk about a lot of different things in upcoming episodes. We got to talk about equipment. We got to talk about downtime. We got to talk about what to do on rainouts, and then we'll have some guests.
Stuff.
Right?
Yep. Oh yeah.
All right,
guys. Thanks.
Thank you.
Rate the podcast, follow it, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks, guys.